Under a sun that never sets, molten rock pours across fresh earth. Moments away, blue icebergs float in water cold as winter. Meltwater runs downhill, carving narrow channels through green moss, and those rivers leap from high cliffs into thunder and spray. In the endless light, every scar lies open, echoing the old Norse tales etched in stone. This is Iceland, the land of fire and ice. Here, land is born in fire. At 1200 degrees Celsius, molten rock surges from the Earth's heart, bright enough to paint the sky orange. Every passing minute stretches this island wider, a river of creation laying a fresh meter of ground at a time. Sparks burst 60 meters a second. Steam hisses as water dares to meet the surface. But it is not destruction. It is birth.
I crossed to the fire door of the world. The ground breathed beneath me, and I knew I walked on the anvil of the gods. The sagas spoke of Surtur, the fire giant, forging his blade here. Every ember a hammer strike, every roar his laughter. I saw it with my own eyes, and for a moment I believed them.
But even myth has a mirror in science. Lava here hardens 10 times faster than concrete, sealing its own wounds before it can deepen. Yet, the pressure beneath never rests, hurling rock 80 meters into the air, feeding a magma chamber that waits 2 kilometers below. And even when it sleeps, the crust moves 2 centimeters every year, tearing Iceland apart and stitching it back together in the same breath.
When I reached the far rim, the wind stung my face, and I felt the boundary. They called this the fire door of the world, the place where men cross into the realm of giants. I crossed it, and I carry its heat.
But fire doesn't hold the throne forever. Steam thins, the glow fades, and the palate turns cold, waiting for the day it wakes again. When the fire goes still, the cold takes the chisel. This wall of blue is snowfall under pressure, years stacked into stone. As air is squeezed from the grain, the ice keeps the warmth and lets the blue escape.
I planted my leather soles on the shield of Niflheim and felt the earth flinch like a startled beast. From this ridge I watched the frost realm advance, blue spear points, rank on rank, pressing south toward the fires of men. Every footfall rang like iron on a hall stone. Then the shield growled, a troll's jaw snapping at wanderers bold enough to walk its spine. When the sleeping giant stirs, cold rivers burst from his ribs and gallop to drown the valley.
The glacier creeps down slope under its own weight, about a meter each year. It stretches over ridges and tears open crevasses where the pull is strongest. Each step compacts snow into interlocking crystals, yet they deform and slip. A slow river of solid ice. And it starts small. A drop finds a seam, then 1,000 more.
At dusk, the shield sighed, its blue fire dimmed, yet its patience will outlive every saga carved by mortal hands.
Released from the ice, the water now can spread and flow, laying out fine sediment in shifting silver channels. At the margin, life returns first. Moss and microbes catch the sun and the minerals the ice leaves behind. As the flow gathers, it grinds rock into flour and carries the glacier's memory downstream. And the falling water takes the story from here. On an island built by fire and shaped by ice, a glacial river steps off a basalt bench. The strike shreds water into spray and millions of bubbles. The plume cools the gorge and keeps the walls wet, and the roar that you hear is pressure being released. Immediately above the edge of the falls, the river thins and accelerates. Surface tension fails, the sheet separates into many narrow streams, and sliding flow transitions to free fall within a short distance.
I stood where the water slackened at the edge. The ground shook with each blow. Men here tell of Thrassy's chest hidden behind the curtain. They say a ring from it was taken long ago.
Meltwater here carries very fine rock flour ground beneath glacial ice, Those tiny suspended grains scatter short wavelengths, so water coming downstream presents as blue to blue turquoise in the sun. As the sediment load increases, color shifts towards a milky jade. And when it thins, or the pool is deeper, it turns a clearer steel blue color.
I set my weight back from the lip and read the seams in the rock. Men say that when our law turned to Christ, Thor gear the law speaker threw the carved gods into this fall. Whatever the truth, the edge keeps moving, blocks go, and the river takes the line. Behind the veil, the world goes tight. Breath turns cold. The rock is slick under the hands. Folks here speak of the Holdu folk, the hidden people in caves and falls. I move quiet, keep a hand to the wall, and pass through without naming anything.
Where the jet meets the pool, flow plunges at the center and rises near the rim, creating a recirculating loop. That circulation keeps fine sediment in suspension, moves coarse grains along the floor, deepens the bowl, and gradually undercuts the overhanging ledge. North Atlantic wind sets how far the waterfall reaches beyond the channel. Carried spray can wetten rocks well outside of the flow, which supplies minerals that support moss and lichen. It also keeps cracks in the rock moist so freeze-thaw can pry them wider. Below the pool, the valley tightens and the current aligns with the terrain. The bed deepens, the banks steepen, and a flow concentrates along one line. From here, the same forces shape ridges, they cut valleys, and drive life on the cliffs.
When the thunder of the fall thinned to a steady breath, the river tightened into one hard line and led me into a canyon of straight-faced stone. The walls were cut on clean joints. Winter pried them, thaw eased them, and fallen blocks piled into cones that told where the last roofs let go. Wind ran in the throat and turned every ledge into a test, so I kept my weight back from the lips, stepped on ribs, not plates, and listened. The cut opened and the coast rose dark ahead, a ridge with points like a helm. Harder rock keeps its height while softer beds go to sand. That's why these flanks stand so steep. Along the sea face, the small black-backed birds rode the updrafts, bringing fish held crosswise in their bills to burrows in the turf. What they leave feeds the grass, and the grass holds the rim. The shore ran black and fine, lava and glass worked down until it pours like flour. Bars rose where the water spent itself, and after a blow, the map shifted. I watched the back pull cut its channels and walked where the swash left firm ground. Then I traveled out long into the black desert, the wind writing arrows on the crust while I kept my pace to it. Inland, a massive rock stood alone on the sand. Once it faced the surf as part of a cliff. Arches failed, a sea stack held, and as rivers fed more sand, the shoreline marched outward and left the stone on dry ground. We left the taste of salt and followed the low lines inland. Where the valley widened, channels split and wandered. Where it tightened, they gathered and ran hard between steepening sides. Cloud spilled over the ridges like slow water, patches of old snow held in the shade, and from the rise the order was clear. Peaks catch the weather, valleys steer the flow, and the dark plains carry the work away.
This crater was formed during an immense volcanic eruption in the year 871, just a few years before Iceland's first settlers reportedly arrived. Known as the Blue Pool, it sits quietly among several other explosion craters in the region, created when magma rapidly turned groundwater into steam. What looks calm today, it was once the site of sudden, high-pressure blasts that reshaped the land in minutes. This trip to Iceland was never just about the big landscapes. There were long stretches of stillness, small moments that didn't demand attention, but stayed with me anyway. I started noticing how often the quiet things were the ones that made the strongest impressions. Experiencing everything that had happened up to this point was something I will never forget. Every night we stayed up, only sleeping during the daytime. Most nights walking around until morning completely alone with entire areas to ourselves. Getting to see some of the most beautifully stunning places in the world with no one else in sight made the whole trip feel so different and untouched. And by the end of it, I knew one thing for sure. I'll absolutely be coming back to Iceland.
We built low out of the wind, walls of turf and stone on rock footings, scarce timber and driftwood for beams, a long fire down the middle and smoke finding its way out. After the conversion, farm chapels rose beside the halls, roofed with turf and timber. In season, we met our neighbors at markets and assemblies and then scattered back to our fields. And when the work was set and the weather held, we took the cairned paths over ridge and sand into the high country to find fords, test passes, and see what the land would show.
When you're in a place like this, it's hard not to try to capture everything, to keep moving and keep filming, keep photographing, but learning to stop and just pay attention to where you actually are, that's what stays with you. Not the footage, not the photos, just the way it made you feel. And that's enough.